Hey, yeah, welcome to another. Well, this isn't a live stream per se. I'm having to record this in advance and then I'll share it once I'm done. Technical difficulties, but I'm gonna power through it. So, a bit of context behind why I'm doing these. So, I'm really terrible at recording video content. Like, I get paralyzed, I mess up, and I just get really self-critical. So, my solution to this is to start live streaming and then just not edit the video and put it up. I also think it's quite helpful to have just a stream of consciousness, unedited view of how to do the things I do. So yeah, this is largely an experiment. Yeah, and as you can see from the title of the video, today I'm going to be walking through a few different tools that you can take a look at to manage your tasks online. I've been seeing this question a little bit lately, and I do recommend certain tools, but I feel like it's more helpful to have someone step through the very first stages of it, just so you can understand like what the tools are like, if you can see yourself using them or not. The tools I'm going to go through today are Trello, Asana, ClickUp, Monday.com, Airtable, and the Notion. I have a whole separate video on Notion itself, which I'll link somewhere. But the other five I haven't really talked about much before, and I think they're all strong tools in their own sense. So I just wanted to spend a few minutes on each one talking about it, who I think it might be useful for. I've got a couple of different points here that I want to cover with all of them, just to kind of not pitch them against each other, but so that you can evaluate them a bit more fairly. So first up is, how easy is it to add and update things in there? Like, how quickly would it be to open the window, go to the thing you were working on and mark it as done? Next is hierarchy. So a lot of tasks are one-offs, fair enough, but say you're working on a larger project and you want to break it down into tasks. And then also say if you're working on a task, but it's a multi-step thing and there are several subtasks you need to complete that one. I want to evaluate how each of these tools handles hierarchy. Customization. So each one of them has like a set of defaults, but I want to see how easy it would be to add your own things to it. So like if, for example, you wanted to categorize your tasks into different things, I want to see how easy that is to do. I also, just from a personal perspective, I really like visually customizing my stuff. It's one of the reasons I talk about Notion so much, is because it's very it very much fits my brain and my aesthetic. So I want to see if these other tools also have that flexibility or if it's important. Views, so how you show information. So that would be like, it's difficult to explain. Yep. I will show you with this. So I've spoken in the past about Kanban, which is a way that you can organize your work and methodically step through it. So I like to explain it as in post-it notes. So say you had, let's grab another one. So you had a couple of post-it notes and each one had a task on. Kanban board is when you have different columns to represent the different statuses. So you'd have like things I need to do column, things I'm working on column, and the things I've completed column. You can add in other columns if you want, but those are the three core ones. Then on each post-it note, you'd write a task you need to do. And so these are in the to-do column at the moment. Then as you start working on a task, you'd pick it up and put it in your in progress column. And then when you've done it, you'd move it to your done column. That's Kanban in a nutshell. I feel like I've spoken about it a few times before, but that's the view that suits my brain. It's also a default view that I've seen on all of these tools. So I want to explore how each one does it, and then also the other different kinds of views each one gives you. Yeah, I think that's covered everything that I wanted to talk through. So without faffing around anymore, I'm going to jump into the tools. And I'll start with Trello. So Trello's the tool I like to recommend for people who just need something very, very simple, basically post-it notes, but digital. I don't use it myself too much, but I'm familiar enough with it that I can at least show you the basics. So this is how it will look basically once you've gone through the onboarding, like once you've set up your space and then set up your first board. The only thing I've changed here is I've made it purple. Everything else is as it will give you. So here's how I explained before. Actually, should I zoom in so you can see a bit better? Oh, come on. Is that better? Yeah. Oh, I should also probably mention this direction. It's just a fun little experiment. If it gets too distracting, I won't use it again. I'm basically looking for a way to do these sessions without necessarily having to have my face on camera. I don't know, it's just a thought. So yeah, just to mention the robot. Anyway, yes, the Kanban board view that I was talking before, Trello gives you that by default. And actually, it does lock all of your other views behind a paywall. So just for Trello, we're going to be focusing on Kanban. In terms of being able to add new tasks, it's super simple. Once you get to the board, you just add the plus and then put in your task. Do this thing. To update a task, you drag it through the columns. You can add another column if you had something else you wanted to add as a status to your task. So say you've got to do doing done, maybe if it's blocked. So if it's something that you are working on and you're nearly done, but you're waiting on someone else to do something to help you, you could move that into blocked. So you can see how easy it was to add another column. In terms of customizing each of these cards, you can add, I don't even know what you call these, let's call them properties. So say you had, this is a task and you had a deadline, you can just click on dates like I did there and then select the due date and it will even give you a reminder. That's quite nice. What else? If you wanted to, so say you were someone who works on, I don't know, I should have thought of a more abstract example. So let's say you're, okay, I'm just going to use product design because that's familiar to me. So let's say this is a research-oriented task. This is a design-oriented task. And this is a development, just to keep it like super simple. So you'd be able to categorize each of your tasks that came in as design or development, both maybe. Then that's something I didn't put on my list, but another helpful thing that I would want to explore if I was evaluating different task management tools is, would there be a way to reduce the amount of things that I have to look at in one go? So you can imagine if you'd been using this for months and months and months and you had loads of things to do and then loads of things you'd already done, you might want to filter it by particular things. So here in Trello, there is a filter where you can only show design tasks, for example, or you can show things that have a due date that's within the next week. So you don't have to show everything. You can filter it to stuff that you just want to look at on that particular time you're looking at it. That was a good sentence. Cards assigned to me as well. This is a very handy feature. I use this all the time. So on the point of collaboration, if this board is full of everybody's work, so say you're working with 3 other people, and you have all of your work in to-dos and everybody has their stuff together and doing, if you filter it by just things that are assigned to you, actually I'll assign this to me super quick. Me. So if I filtered this just by things that I was working on, then it simplifies the view. I don't have to worry about anybody else's stuff. I always think that's really handy. I'm kind of sad that I won't be able to walk through all the different views because they're stuck behind a paywall. It's very unfortunate. Hierarchy. I don't know about this one actually. So if you wanted to add subtasks to this, so say this was bigger and you wanted to add ones underneath, I don't think you could, at least not that I can see. It's not obvious to me. The way I would do this is in the description have like, I don't know, to do a, and then actually, just for example, to do B. So then if someone wanted to check up on, or if you wanted to check up on how this task was doing in regards to all the other little bits and bobs you needed to do, you can break it down this way. You can also, and this is something that I will cover on all the other tools as well, you can leave comments on particular tasks. So if you wanted to update or just keep a running log of how a particular task was going. So if you'd be like, spoke to Dave about the task. And it just gives you a nice little way of audit logging your progress on things. This is something that I really appreciate about keeping my to-do list digitally rather than having it on like a piece of paper or keeping it in post-it notes, for example, is that you have an archive of everything you've done on it, all the status updates. It's helpful as well if you introduce someone new to your team, because then you can say, oh, here's the work, here's all the stuff that's ever been done on it, and it's easier for them to catch up. And then the other direction for hierarchy is, I suppose, if you were working on different projects in Trello, you could create a board. So say if you got a new, like if you're a freelancer and you got a new client and you wanted to, or if you got a new project, like a fixed scope project, project A, then within this you could invite your collaborators to this and you could all work together on this project, keep everything scoped nice and tidy, and then you could have a separate board for, like, I don't know, your CRM. Like if you wanted to keep track of, actually that's a good case study. That's a good use case. So CRM, say you had like, oh, I can't remember the terminology. What's the, let's see, potential signed proposal sent. I'm spending too long on Trello. And then company name. Then again, within here, you can log your activity, like spoke to Brian. You could, oh, okay, that's also a premium feature, that's a shame. If you wanted to attach the contract, like the PDF of the contract you'd signed, you could do that here. Yeah, I would guess that's all the helpful things, or at least that's covered. Being able to add and move stuff. The hierarchy, so setting different boards, and then I'm not even sure if it's the correct way, but this is the way I would do it. It's back to here. Then having subtasks within the main task, custom fields and deadlines and things like that. You can use these. Unfortunately, they are a premium feature, which is a shame. Views, again, premium feature. Would have loved to have walked through that more. Collaboration, being able to invite people to the board. That's very handy. And then other features. Just one more thing to cover. So you can on Trello change the background to any of their pre-loaded stock photos, or let's see, if I wanted to upload a custom file, I could do that here. So you could have it in your brand colors. Like if you, let's see, project A, if this was for a particular client who had a particular brand, you could use the customization in Trello to make it feel like their space. I think that's always quite nice. Yep, I guess that's my whistle stop, it's taken too long, tour of Trello. Now I'm going to do the same sort of thing for Asana, ClickUp, Monday.com, Airtable, and then see how I go with Notion. I might just ask you to watch the video I've already made on that. So Asana is another collaboration tool. How would I describe it uniquely? I guess it's more powerful than Trello because you've also got features like reporting. So with Asana, you can create a dashboard, which is very helpful if you're working with multiple people, and you can see their progress as individuals. So say you each had 12 tasks, you can see who's doing what, how far each person is, etc., etc. Yeah, that's just something unique that Asana provides, so to me, Asana's a tool for working with other people, but it also works brilliantly for an individual. And that's the bit I'm going to focus on. So if I go into Gubbins, it's misleading. Maybe I should rename this. So this is the project. Kind of like how we had on Trello, your different projects down the side here. In Asana, you would do the same. So you could create, yes, that's the one. You can create new projects this way. So within a project, again, the Kanban board of having your different tasks, being able to drag and drop them, being able to add them quite quickly. It's always good. Hierarchy, again, you've got your project level at the side, task level here, and then each task also has subtasks within it. So these don't have their own cards, but they do, it keeps them all together in one place. So task A, task B. There are due dates. So again, if you wanted to set deadlines for things, let's do it tomorrow, you can assign them to particular people. This is, again, helpful if you're working with other people, but if it's just you, maybe not something you're too interested in. Being able to add custom fields to this. All right, this is going to be a test. See if I can remember how to do this. Because you can. Here you go. Customize custom fields. So say, I really should have come up with examples for this. Let's just say category. Let's see the ones we had before. Research, and then what's the other one? Development. And then obviously you can customize these, set the colors, etc. For the custom fields as well, obviously you can select what type it is. That's fine. So in the board view we were looking at before, for each task, you could then come in and select the category it belongs to, and it displays on the card itself. Again, if you just wanted to show stuff that was assigned to you or that was assigned to, actually, let's change this. And here, so if you wanted to show only cards that were assigned to you, you could do this, assignee assigned to me, and it will filter out the ones that aren't your problem. You can also, let's see how to filter where the due date is within the next week. So it would only show stuff, if I'd said it properly, it would only show stuff that was imminent, which is quite nice. Next is views. So thankfully on Asana, the views aren't locked behind a paywall, so I can show you a little bit more. Timeline. So this is kind of like a Gantt chart, I guess, in that you can see along the top are the days, and then coming down are the different tasks you need to do, and then each block is, so let's see, here is today the 9th, and let's say I'd been working on this task since the 6th, and its due date was the 17th. So by having all of your tasks laid out like this, if I just increase the amount of time I need to work on these, you can kind of get an idea of how you'd be able to see, okay, today I need to be working on C and B, but C is due sooner, so I should be working on that one first, and then I can go down to B. I don't have to worry about A today because it's in the future. So timeline views are really handy for having that. It's also good to be able to update stuff in the board view and have it reflect on the timeline view. Similarly with calendar, this, I don't need to explain how calendar works, but like, yeah, being able to see which things you should be working on that day, which things are coming up. And then with list view, this one is literally just a list of all the tasks you need to do. You can, I think you can show and hide the different properties. So if you're the only person who's working on these things, you probably don't need to know the assignee. And tags. Yeah, you can just toggle your different fields on and off. So that's quite handy within a view to be able to have different ways of seeing the same thing. Collaboration in Asana is quite simple. You can either at a team level invite people to the team itself, if I can remember. Yep, you can add members through here so they would have access to all the projects that are within the team. Similarly with templates, which I won't cover today, they'd just be able to access everything that your team can access. And then for individual projects, I think you can invite people individually. Yes, so I won't go into this. If it's something that's interesting, either download this and try it yourself, or let me know and I can chase it up. But kind of like how I was explaining before with Trello, of being able to have an individual project dashboard for each of your clients or each of your projects, doing the same in Asana looks like it could be possible. Other features in Asana, like I've mentioned, the reporting dashboard, being able to work together and see who's working on what. It's quite handy. Actually, let's have a look and see if it'd work for an individual. As you can tell, I don't really use Asana that much, but I thought it would be helpful to bring it up and talk about it in case it's helpful to anybody watching. Okay, so this is probably good actually if you just want to track your own cadence. I imagine you'd have to play around with the different graphs, and obviously things like this aren't very useful for an individual, but over time being able to see where you are at might be quite helpful if you're someone who likes to keep yourself on top of things. Yeah, so the dashboards. Again, I don't know too much about them, but I just thought it'd be helpful to mention. Yeah, I guess that's it for Asana. I think I've covered everything. Yep. So next is, let's do ClickUp. So ClickUp is a tool that I've used a little bit and I've really, really enjoyed it. It's very powerful. There's like so many cool little features in it that I just will not possibly have time to go through today. But my feeling of it is that it's very much a tool for working with other people. You can use it as an individual, but that would be, you know, I found that there's a lot of setup to do as an individual, so it might be a bit intimidating for people who just want something very simple, drag and drop. But I thought I'd go through it anyway, in case you're someone who just really likes trying new things. And and again, I won't cover them, so many features in this, and I'd advise you to go and have a look if this is interesting to you. So kind of like how we've had with Asana, ClickUp will also have spaces. So these are areas, and you can see I've kind of started using it already. These are areas where you can keep all of your tasks and documents and stuff in one place. So for today, let's make a new space just so you can see what it's like. And then just coffee, that'll do. So this is what I was saying as well about how it takes a bit of setup. So ClickUp is very powerful if you have set processes, you want to set them at once and be able to repeat them again and again. So let's see, that will do. Again, here, loads of different options for being able to set up things for your team. But as an individual, I would say, oh, I should also mention that this is the business plan for ClickUp. So I've already gotten the upgrades for this. So some things, if you are looking at the free version, might be locked. If they are, I'm sorry. Let's see, multiple assignees. So if I was setting this up as an individual, I would not click multiple assignees. These not so much either. Time tracking is always good. Then this is again covering views, so let's just toggle a few of these on so we can see each one. This might just be me getting completely lost in the reads, but that's what this video is for. I'm hoping that this will be like enticing for people who really like all this management stuff, and then terrifying for people who just want to like take me back to Trello. That was way easier, but bear with me, I'll get through this. Task management demo list. Okay, so instead of list, you could call this my tasks. And to add new tasks in ClickUp, it's quite easy. Just new task. Here, if I can type it, it's easy. You can okay, let's start from scratch just for speed. You can update tasks. Actually, for consistency, I'm going to scale this on the board view. So yes, okay, this should be familiar. If I can reorder this. Oh. Okay, I won't faff around with that, it's just me being perfectionist. So let's also add another task B. Okay, so these are my different tasks. I can drag and drop them between the columns, which is good for each task. I can add subtasks here, so subtask A, subtask B. What was the other criteria I was using before? Due dates, you can add that up here. So you can say it's due on the 18th. It's assigned to me from the look of it. To filter out the stuff that's only going to be happening, like only the stuff that's relevant to me, you can go up here and filter by due date. Here's within the next week. So it will hide anything that either doesn't have a due date or it's too far away and you don't really care about it. Let's do the research and design tags that I was looking at before. So you can tell I don't use this one so much either. Let's go to list, add a new column in here, and then go to, see, there's just so many things in here. There's so much cool stuff to explore, but it's also very stressful trying to do it on a video where you're just trying to do very basic task management. So category, option 1, research, option 2, design, option 3, development, and then let's add some colors. Green. Okay, that's the other thing I wanted to point out as well, which I didn't so much in Asana, and I did a little bit in Trello, is being able to customize things so that it matches your look and feel. So being able to use a custom hex code for these particular categories. I don't know why, maybe it's just my brain, but just being able to fully customize every aspect of your board is, I don't know why, I rate that quite highly. I know most people wouldn't, but that's just me. So you can see now that if I had this one as a research task, this one as a research task, let's do that properly, and this one is a design task, then in the board view, if you wanted to just show your things, category down here, where category is design, and that's filtered the view. So the other one I had here that wasn't design is gone, but I can bring it back. There you go. Custom fields, you could see that it was, I had to go into the list view to do it, but you can add your own custom categories here, and there's just so many in here. I think in Trello there was like number, name, and then in ClickUp there's just so many cool, like this is, you can choose which emoji the rating uses. Oh, that's so cool. Rating. So you can see if you're someone who really wants to get into the reads with creating very complex, very granular management systems, then ClickUp's a really good one to consider. but it's also probably quite spooky for simple day-to-day things. Other features with ClickUp, oh gosh, where do I start? So ClickUp has dashboards in the same way that Asana has dashboards, but they have way more options rather than just being able to track time spent on tasks. So it's so much to get into, and I really don't want to spend too long on it, but yeah, it's just, let's see, it'll be a handy thing to do. And this is, again, I'm not going to cover it, but if you were an agency or a freelancer and you wanted to track the amount of time you'd spent on each of those tasks and then have it auto-populate into a dashboard that you could then share with people and say, here's the amount of time I spent on all these different things, you can use ClickUp for that. Then in docs as well, so docs are basically just documents. It's kind of like a Google Docs. I can't believe I forgot that. It's like Google Docs, but within ClickUp, so you don't have to leave the ClickUp space to reference something. So for example, if your team had a template for copy for some campaign you were working on, then you could keep them within the docs section here rather than having to link out to a Google Drive. Just things like that. The docs as well are quite rich, so you can embed all sorts of different bits and bobs in here. You can have them be interactive, so you can have buttons that link out to websites, things like that. You can also embed videos, and if you had written it on Google Docs, you could link out to Google Docs. But yeah, it gives you the power to bring everything that you're working on in other places into ClickUp, which is quite cool. But that's all I want to cover. I don't want to spend too long on any one thing in particular. And on that note, I guess I will wrap ClickUp up and move on to Monday. So Monday is again a collaboration space where you can track projects you're working on, tasks you're working on, and then it also has docs in the same way that ClickUp has docs. So being able to keep all of your documentation within the same space rather than linking outside. Trello does not have that, Asana does not have that, but ClickUp and Monday.com do. The first thing I'm going to do is replicate the board process that I've used on the other tools just to keep things consistent. So go to add board, tasks, and then just call it my tasks. I'm not being too consistent with these, but this is just to give you an idea of what it's like to jump into the tool with like relatively little exposure to it and muddle through. So tasks, it's already generated some stuff for me, which is quite nice. Let's see if we can select Kanban view. It's like consistency. I'm guessing this would be the to do. Can I not rename this? Okay. So you do it through here, new label, to do. I'm guessing with Monday is that they prefer to have it that if you're not working on something, it's just not got a status on it, and that's fine. But for me and my brain, I'd rather have a things to do column, so then I can come in here. Okay, so that's hopefully quite familiar. Can I hide this? I can't do it quickly enough in my brain. Okay, that's fine. I keep getting distracted. Okay, so now we have the Kanban view set up where we've got tasks on the left, and then we can move them through. Each task has the name of the task at the top. Can you add subtasks? Does not look like it. but you can assign it to yourself. So if you're working with other people, you can track who's working on what. The status, that's the thing from before. What else was I? Oh, due date. So if you wanted to set it to the 18th, can you add custom fields on? You can. So if you wanted to categorize it, you could use drop down, create label, research, design, development, and then development design. Oh, these groups. Okay, I should probably talk about groups. So within Monday.com, they have these groups. So either you could use, in the same way we have done with all the other tools, if you're setting things per project, you could set them in the left-hand side. So you could create a new board for each project that you're working on, or you could set them like this. You could go project A, project B. The only thing I would say is that if you're working with multiple different groups of people and you'd want each one to have their own space and you wouldn't want any overlap like this, then I would say to create like project A, project B in the side here, and then use the groups for something else in this view. Another thing to check actually. Status. Okay, so I have selected drop down here for these categories, which I'm trying to be consistent. They're the ones I used in the other spaces, but if I change this to category, this one would also be drop down. So instead here, you could edit these so that these ones say research, design, development. And I'm not entirely sure with Monday, like which of these methods is the best. I guess if you wanted to assign multiple things to a task, drop down makes sense because of course you can select 2 different ones. Okay, what else do we want to check? On here, filtering. So if you just wanted to show stuff that was due in the next week, you can do that using that filter. That's good. If you wanted to show things that were assigned just to me, that's also good. What was the other thing we were testing for? Oh, the category. So if you wanted to where category drop down is design, and it will just filter out all the design ones. You could do that also for category is design here. That works. Clear all. Different views. So this is the board one. You've seen the main table of things, but if you wanted to have a different view, let's put on the timeliney sort of view before that we were looking at in Asana. Okay, that's fine. So here, if you wanted to rearrange all of the things in this project, can you not? Okay, you can't. That's unfortunate. Unless there's something I'm missing here. But no. Okay. So in this way you can kind of schedule your things to do in the Gantt chart sense, but it doesn't look like it's as responsive as the one that we were looking at in Asana. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I would want to show here with Monday, because Monday's another one of those ones where I'm not too familiar with it, but I know enough to kind of explain the basics. And this is also where having the chat would be helpful, because then you could have people posing questions as they come up with them. What else do we want to cover? Collaboration, if I haven't already covered that. I guess you can add people to the workspace as a whole so that they'd be able to see everything within it, or you can add them to individual board views. There you go. Other features. So Monday as well also has docs. Again, very similar to how they had them in ClickUp. These are rich as well. So if I can edit these, I must be able to edit. Yes. And you can add in all sorts of different bits and bobs in here. You've got embeddables. You've got, these are interesting. So widgets, I don't know enough about them to explain them properly in this video, but I'm way out of my depth. Let's have a look anyway. Okay, that's what the battery is. I was so confused. If like battery, what does that mean? So you can see how with documents like this, it's over time as you have your tasks in here. Then if you wanted to create like I don't know, say you had like a template for project proposals, you could keep those in here as well. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to cover with Monday. It's one of those tools where you can see how it feels familiar in certain senses to the other 3 tools I've gone through, but then there's also other new bits and bobs that might be helpful to certain specific people. I would say, and I would say this with any of these tools, if you're at least somewhat curious, download it, have a go. But yeah, I don't want to spend too much more on Monday. Yeah, it's hard to do this without having a specific thing to go on. But let's, for the sake of time, jump into Airtable. So Airtable is another one of those tools that you hear about a lot, but you might not know that you can also use it for project management. I have mostly used it for databases, so storing data and then being able to pull them into other places, but you can within Airtable also produce the same views that I was looking at before, so I thought it'd be helpful to come in and evaluate it. So you can see I've made one here earlier, simple project tracker, and this was from a template, so they've already given me a couple of things in here to share. And the hierarchy with Airtable is a little bit different to all the other ones we were looking at before. So whereas in these ones you have your projects down the left, with Airtable, the project is the thing you're looking at. Each one of these is a different database, and then down the side are the different ways you can look at that database. So here it's got a table, but I could also create, let's go into tasks. Here I could go on to Kanban. Grouping. So I'd have to build these myself, that's okay. Because like I said, I've been using Airtable as a database tool rather than task management tool. So maybe it's just not, it's panicking. It's like, what are you doing? So let's scatter these about so we can do the little experiment we've done with other views. So you can see here that we've got all our different tasks in the different columns of the Kanban board. For each task, you can assign it to, okay, that's not very helpful. If I wanted to assign it to a person in Airtable, you'd create a new field and make that user. Then assign it to me. Okay, so now I'm working on it. So if you had multiple people, that's how you would add them into the different cards. What was the other one we were using before? Category is, come on. Let's say single select. Research, design, and development. Oops. because that's going to annoy me if I don't do that. The other thing I like about Airtable, this is very much an aside, but I just like their color palette. I just think these are really pretty hues. You can't, as far as I know, yeah, like in the upgraded version, they have like dark colors. So instead of using all these pastels, they have like dark blue and dark purple and stuff. But I don't think you can select your own hex codes like you could in ClickUp, for example. But that's okay. That's fine. I can live with that. Category. Actually, there's a quicker way to do this. Here, let's just put in a bunch so we can see them on the board. Development. If you wanted to add a due date, then you can do that here. I'm rushing now, like I'm thinking too hard. And then set one for the 30th. Then in the Kanban view, if you wanted to show, let's get rid of completed, let's get rid of grouping, because you can already see that at the top. Person's fine, category's fine, due date's fine. Okay, so that feels pretty similar to what we've had in the other things so far. And I can go back and do like an overview at the end. But if we wanted to filter out here, filter where the date is within the next week. Hang on, this is the bit that always trips me up with dates. I don't know why I can't. My brain just doesn't work this way. It's within the next week. There you go. Oh, wait. Have I done that wrong? No. Okay. It's just because this one's too far away. So if you filter by the next week, then only the tasks that you need to work on in the immediate future come up. If you were working on this with multiple people, you could filter it where the person it's assigned to is you, and it will just show you your tasks. If you wanted to, what's the other one? Where category is design, I think is the other one, and testing. You can do it that way. Custom fields, I've already shown you how to add custom fields. If you wanted to add subtasks into each of these, doesn't look like you can do it with. Okay, so with hierarchies in Airtable, what you have to do, and you can see thankfully that this demo project has already set it up, is that you would set up one table for the top level. So in this case, it would be projects. Then you would link those to another table through, I don't know what they call them in Airtable, just link to tasks. Okay, so here you can see that these tasks are the ones related with this project. And then in tasks, you should be able to see the project that it belongs to. Then if you wanted to do this even further, you could create another table with subtasks and then link those to tasks, and it would just, yeah, so you can get quite complicated with it. See the one, views. See, they do have, oh, it's a pro. Okay, it's a pro feature, but they do have timelines in Airtable as well. So kind of like how I've showed you before in some of the other programs. Calendar, I wonder what calendar view looks like. I don't think I've seen this one before. Okay, I closed it very quickly, but being able to use date ranges is a premium feature. Don't know enough about that to talk about it. So in this sense, you'd be able to drag and drop your different tasks on different days. So you're like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to order seat belts. If you wanted to view the type of task it is, you can do that here. What else? No, that's fine. Don't need to cover that. Collaboration, so you can work with multiple people in a single, I don't know what Airtable calls them, base. So in a single base, so you could create a base for a particular client and then create different tabs for each of the projects you're working on. Then other features. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about with Airtable? Oh, interfaces. So Airtable also has interfaces in the same way that Asana does and ClickUp does, but I don't know too much about them enough that I can talk about them in this video. From what I've used of them, they're quite powerful, so you can have, let's see if I can just auto-generate one. You can see there's like different examples of things you can do here. And then within these pages you can drag and drop and build the dashboards. You can add in different elements here. So dashboard building, I won't cover it too much just because this isn't what the video is meant to be about. I keep getting distracted, I know. But yeah, you can create these dashboards in ClickUp, in Asana as well. Just trying to think what else would be helpful to cover from Airtable's perspective. Again, go and have a play around, try it yourself. But yeah. The final one, and I don't think I'll go through it because of time, or I won't go through it in too much detail, is Notion. So I've already done a video on this kind of thing and I will have linked it somewhere. But being able to have, let's just make one super quick. Then board, so new database, to do, in progress, complete. These are the cards, so these would be like task A. You can assign them to yourself. Then add property if you had a due date. Within the next week, I won't make that mistake again. Then categories, I'm getting so scattered now. And then let's add design. This is also just a comparison of like, I don't know why it's doing this. It's a comparison of how functionally I would do this in Notion. Obviously this is just how I would do it, but you could come at this in other ways, and I'm sure different video tutorials will show you how to do this differently, but I digress. If you wanted to show the category and the date on here, you could toggle them in that menu. If you wanted to, you can move the cards around very easily. That's good. If you wanted to filter by category as development, you can do that there. If you wanted to filter out who it's assigned to, it's there. If you wanted to filter out dates that are within the next week, you can do that there. Other views, let's just do timeline again, just because we've seen it in other places. It's very handy to have. You can drag to resize in Notion as well, which I really like. Click to add to timeline. There we go. It's easy to drag and drop, so you can, like I was saying before, if you have your current days where the red line is, you can see what you're meant to be working on and how far through it you are. Collaboration with Notion, you can invite people to your entire workspace, or you can invite them just to this particular team space. So if you had like different clients, you could say, okay, I'll make you your own client space. You can see here that I don't really do that. I do it the old-fashioned way. But you could create a new team space for like client A, create a team space, invite your clients just to here, and then have all of your different pages and task dashboards and stuff within that Notion space. Other features, gosh, yeah. Notion is something that I will definitely cover more of, and I have covered in the past, so I won't talk too much about it. But in the same way that with ClickUp, you can have, let's make another page here. In the same way that with ClickUp, Monday had it as well. You can create rich documents. You can do the same within Notion, so you can embed different bits and bobs, all sorts of tools and things have native integrations with Notion, which is handy. Oh gosh, there's a lot. It's been a while since I've looked at this actually, so many new ones in here. With Notion as well, you can link to, and then link to that one I just made. So you can bring tasks that you're managing at a larger level here, you can bring them into other pages without editing the big main one. So if you wanted to have like I don't know, something else here, and then something else, anything else, I don't know, that'll do. So you can see if you'd built out a particular project page here with more details in, and then you wanted to bring in the tasks that you currently were working on, you could do that with Notion quite quickly, but that's for another video. I feel like I've kind of lost my mind at the end of this. I've waffled, I've stressed, taken a bit too long with it, but as a summary, give me a second. So to summarize, that's how you could begin to manage tasks within each of those 6 tools. So with Trello, super easy to get started. It just gives you a blank board with the columns ready to go. You just put in the columns you want and the tasks you want to work on, drag and drop them. You can change the background, make it pretty. It's very easy to get started. With Asana, similar sort of thing. I found it was quite easy to just jump in and make these individual tasks. It's also really easy to add the subtasks underneath and collaborate on them together. Timeline view I find is wonderful, but again, that's just my brain, and you don't have to pay extra for it on Asana, which is very, very nice. ClickUp is wonderful. It's so powerful. To get started as an individual, what did I go for before? It's like, it's not for the faint-hearted, but if you give it the time and energy to get everything set up and get it all how you like it, it's brilliant, really, really powerful. Monday.com, I don't know enough about it, but I would say that this is a good middle of the road. If you want something that's a little bit more feature heavy than just drag and dropping cards, but you also don't want the level of complexity that ClickUp gives you, Monday.com is quite a nice middle road for that. Airtable is not strictly built for project management, that I would say, but it works very nicely just for jumping in and getting started. It feels quite nice to use. As well, I should mention, I haven't really gone into it that much, but automations. So being able to pull data out from these tasks and so for example, you could say, if I finish a task, immediately email the person who's attached to it. That's an automation, but excuse me, that's a topic for another video. And then finally, Notion. There you go. Yeah, I feel like I've spoken enough about this one. Very, very quick to get set up and started, and then very easy to start building out custom pages and dashboards and pull in the data from other databases that you've made. Yeah, I think that's covered everything that I wanted to cover today. Yeah, it's a little bit of a whistle stop tour. Very much ad-libbed, but I hope that it was helpful to just have someone spend a few minutes with each tool. I hope that being able to just see what each one looks like once you get through the sign up, how easy it is to navigate menus. I noticed as I was going through, a couple of them had like little, what are they called? I don't want to say tutorial, I don't want to say walkthrough, but like little help wizard sort of pointers to help you on board and get started. Like each one has its merits, each one has its downfalls, each one seems to be built for a particular kind of person, but it's also, if you find one that works for you, stick with it, stick at it. But yeah, I hope that I gave you a little bit of inspiration on which thing to try next. As always, if you have any questions, like my details are all below. And I hope you all have a lovely day, lovely week wherever you are, and I'll hopefully see you for the next one whenever that is. Yeah, bye.